Hello, lovelies. This is 5 Minute Manifesting, and I'm your host, Lovey Brown. Thank you so much for listening. I'm thrilled that you're here. Today, I want to talk to you about a short 2-word phrase that I use when I'm experiencing a lot of resistance, when I'm spiraling, when I have a lot of anxiety, when I've experienced a really negative circumstance in my 3D reality. And this 2-word phrase is, I wish. Now, we often hear I wish as something that we want, something that we desire, but we're going to use this phrase instead to sort of release the pressure of a negative circumstance, of a negative situation, of some negative emotions so you can refocus on your internal world in manifesting exactly what you want. So let me explain how to use this. So yeah, like I said, often we think of the phrase I wish as leading us to a desire. I wish I had my specific person. I wish my specific person would text me. I wish that I would win the lottery jackpot. Or whatever it is you're manifesting. And there's an energy around that phrase that isn't exactly it, right? We're wishing for something and we don't believe that we have it. There's putting some distance in our manifesting. So I'm not suggesting at all that we use I wish as a manifesting phrase unless that has worked for you. I never wanted you to get the idea that if something has worked for you, that I'm against it. Whatever resonates with you, whatever works for you. In fact, I'm going to do an episode about that soon. But you should do. So if that does work for you, do it. But if it has sort of the energy that it has for me, which is kind of putting you some separation between you and what you want, your desire, then don't use it. But the way I use the phrase I wish is when I've experienced a negative circumstance, when I've experienced an outcome that I did not want, that I did not prefer, a not preferred outcome, I use that to acknowledge and soothe myself about what I wanted. And I can be honest about my feelings, and I can be honest about what I wanted in that past circumstance that's over and done with. And I do that when I'm feeling like when I just can't really move on, when I can't really get myself over it or soothe myself to refocus on manifesting my end result, on getting into the wish fulfilled. And so let's use an example here. I think an example would be really helpful. So let's say that you texted your specific person something and they left you unread. They did not respond to your text message, and that has you feeling some kind of way. That's natural. That's human, right? We want our specific person to respond to us, especially if we have a relationship where we text each other and they haven't texted you back. And now it's 3 days later and you're having feelings about it. And you need to find some way to soothe yourself so that you can exist and you can focus your internal world on living in the end result, on the wish fulfilled, on your specific person being with you in a committed relationship and always returning your texts, right? But you're kind of hung up on this one event that happened 3 days ago where you didn't get a response. And so how I use the phrase I wish is I use it to acknowledge what I wanted. I use it to acknowledge that circumstance. I wish they had texted me back. I wish she had texted me back. I wish he had texted me back. And I let myself say it as many times as I need to until I get over it. Or until I'm soothed, until I'm in a different state, until I have a different feeling about the situation. Because this is the thing. Think back on your life. You've experienced lots of disappointment and lots of moments of disappointment, right? I mean, I have. And that doesn't mean that you can't manifest exactly what you want. You can still manifest exactly what you want, even having experienced disappointment. And disappointment is not going to ruin your manifestation. You can experience that disappointment and kind of dissolve it so that you can move on from it. And so oftentimes what we do when we have this sort of experience, and we're going back to this example of this specific person not texting you back, and we will try to take some sort of action in the 3D to get a different result. And that very often doesn't work. So like an example of a response you could do is texting them again. And, you know, I'm not suggesting that you do that, but that's something that this is a choice we often make from that emotional state, from that place of disappointment, in order to try to change the outcome. And we send that text, it doesn't get a response again, or it does, whatever the outcome is, doesn't really matter, because the point is that you took an action to soothe yourself, and maybe it worked, maybe it didn't work, but in that soothing yourself, you released some of that pressure, you released some of that resistance. Now, whether that works or not, I mean, if you feel, you know, moved, if you feel like inspired action to text your person again, I'm not suggesting that you not do that. I'm just saying very often that is not something to do. It's very often not inspired action, but if it is, then you do that, right? Like, and even if it's not inspired action, it's still overcomable. But what I'm saying is that using this phrase, I wish they had texted me back, is a way to release that resistance internally, release that disappointment internally, dissolve that disappointment inside of yourself, soothe yourself so that you can refocus on your wish fulfilled. You can refocus on manifesting the end result that you want. Does that make sense? I know that it does. And you just use that phrase, I wish they had texted me back. I wish this lottery ticket had won this time. And if you're in that sort of negative spiral space, soothe yourself with acknowledging what you wish had happened. And then once you're soothed, once you've released that anxiety, once you've released that resistance, you move back to the wish fulfilled in your internal world. You move back to that state where your feelings are calm and soothed and good. Thank you so much for listening, and may you manifest exactly what you want.